welcome into the DNVR Rockies podcast brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code DNVR to get $200 in free bets instantly when you place a $5 bet this Sunday. That's code DNVR only at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. I'm Susie Hunter. We got a Susie show today, and I'm, of course, joined by super producer Kale.
What's up?
What's up? We have such a stacked show for you today. First, we're going to recap last night's loss to the Giants. We talked to Susan Slusser, who is an absolute icon in the world of sports journalism. She covers the Giants for the San Francisco Chronicle. We're going to talk to Jimmy Herron of the Albuquerque Isotopes. And, of course, we're going to talk about last night's game because there was a game within the game because the DNVR crew came to the Rockies game last night. And it's always such a good time seeing how absolutely unhinged my coworkers are. Kale, you had a good time, right?
We had a great time. Multiple tall boys were consumed.
Yeah, he was a super consumer Kale.
Super consumer Kale was thriving last night, one might say.
I kept saying, I was like, oh, I really wanted to egg Kale on to see how many tall boys he could drink, but also I really wanted to have a show today, so
yeah,
I decided
just two.
to.
Just drink two. It was okay.
Just had two. Oh my gosh, fun times. But yeah, last night, tough loss for the Rockies. Kyle Freeland had a fine outing. He had only one unearned run. That's a tongue twister that I just set myself up for. Kyle Freeland only had one unearned run through 5 innings, but then he had 3 one-out doubles in a row in the 6th. That got more runs on the board. Meanwhile, the Giants had a bullpen day. Kale, did you notice the Giants pitcher?
I did not.
The Giants have a giant reliever. His name is... It's spelled Hjelle. It's pronounced Jelly.
That's incredible. I wish I would have noticed that last night. But again, multiple tall boys were consumed.
So many tall boys. He's a tall boy. He's 6'11".
6'11".
He's almost 7 feet tall. Why isn't he playing basketball?
He should be a center in the NBA.
He's enormous. And it's so funny too, because we have a new pitcher who just got called up, Gavin Hollowell, who's 6'7", and he's enormous. Absolutely giant. I made a point, I went up to him, how tall are your parents? I have a lot of questions.
What was the answer? How tall are his parents?
Oh my gosh, I'm happy to tell you. So his dad is about 6'2". His mom, I think, is about 5'10". Nothing crazy. But his mom has 4 brothers, and they're all 6'5".
Oh, so tall genes.
Tall genes. And he's just surpassed everyone. He's the tallest one in his family. Good for him. But I was like, I need to know. Why do I need to know so badly? No, it's insane seeing these enormous human beings playing baseball. CJ Cron had a homer, so he spoiled the shutout for the Giants in the 6th inning. That was his 29th home run of the season, and it's his most since his career high 30 home runs with Tampa Bay in 2018. So he's having a season. CJ Cron also 101 RBI. Or is it RSBI, Kale? Do you have a preference?
I'm an RBI guy. I'm sorry. I know that's not popular on this podcast, but
thank you for your input. You will never produce the show again with me. No, I'm just kidding. You're the best. Don't go. Okay, so CJ Cron, 101 RBI. That the 2 extra came with a 2-run double that really looked like it was going to be a home run. It really looked like it. I'm pretty sure it did go over the wall, but Lewis Brinson kind of caught it, kind of fumbled it. 2 more scored for the Rockies. San Francisco actually tried to challenge Daza's safe call at home. Didn't work out. It was just a very chaotic game, per usual. It's never a dull moment at Coors Field. And I'm sorry that you guys missed it because you were too busy making straws out of hot dogs, and it was absolute chaos.
Yeah, it was chaos last night, but we made the hot dog straw.
Yeah. RK and Spencer did it's like they were at the soda shop in the 50s. They both had their hot dog straw in one beer. It was disgusting. It was actually the worst thing I've ever seen. It's worse than the original viral video. But yeah, ninth inning, let's talk about that. CJ Crone, Ryan McMahon, and Michael Tolia all kind of collided together, try to catch a foul ball. All of them were in a position to catch that ball, and no one caught it. And it was so frustrating. And just to add to the chaos, the crew chief actually reviewed if it even was a foul, but it was, just to add to the chaos. But yeah, that was the Rockies game.
Chaotic night all around.
It was a chaotic night for sure. Do you think we're going to get to 69 wins, Kale?
I sure hope so. It is not looking like it, though.
I mean, we're close. We're close. Rockies are 64 and 84, so they just have to win 5 more games.
How many games are there left, though?
More than 5.
Well,
We still have all of this series. We still have 2 more against San Francisco. And we have 3 more against the Padres here. And then 9 more games after that. Can you add that for me?
9 plus 3 plus 2?
Yeah.
9 plus 3 is 12 plus 2 is 14. So they got to win 5 out of the 14.
I think we can do that. It's 10 a.m. Okay, so we're recording this at 10 a.m. That's kind of early for us.
Also, if I just did that math wrong, please feel free to roast me in the comments.
I'm just trusting you right now. I'm like, Jesus, take the wheel. Yeah, so it was a 6-3 loss to the Giants last night. Rockies fall to 64 and 84. Yeah, so that was last night. But the other thing, one of my favorite moments yesterday, though, before the game, I got to talk to Susan Slusser, who I'm just such a big fan of. Like, she's one of the people that when I met this season, I was like, oh, I'm actually kind of starstruck right now because she's so good at what she does. So I'm very excited to share that interview. Are you chiming in? No. Oh, okay. I saw him rolling towards the board. I'm like, if Kale has something to say, he can say it. No, but first, before we air that interview, we gotta shout out some sponsors. Listen up to the fam. Watch parties every single day for every single day of the week at the DNVR bar, which is now open on the corner of Colfax and York. So you can check the event page at thednvr.com. Excuse me. So if you're not a member already, you are missing out on price breaks for Broncos tailgates and Nuggets party buses. The annual membership comes with a free t-shirt from the DNVRlocker.com. And I love our t-shirts. We have the absolute best gear. You get a member-sized beer at the DNVR bar. You get extra raffle tickets at all watch parties to win even more free gear and all access to our members-only Discord. So you don't have to worry about talking politics or talking to jerks. You can just chat with everyone in the DNVR community. So if you're not a member, don't fret. It's only 50 cents for your first month at thednvr.com. And listen, it wouldn't be a podcast at DNVR without mentioning Breckenridge Brewery. They have a birthday coming up, 32 years young. And to celebrate, Breck Brew is throwing a weekend-long hootenanny. A hootenanny! Kick off the fall with live music, food, beer, obviously, and games October 8th and 9th at their Littleton location. They've got national acts like Spin Doctors and local favorites like Railroad Earth rockin' out. So stay tuned to everything DNVR for hootenanny giveaways leading up to October 8th. Sounds like such a fun event. Check out events.seated.com/hootenanny22 for more details on tickets and artist lineup. Link is in the description in case you just don't feel like listening to me spell it out. And listen, we got to mention DraftKings. The NFL action is in full swing at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. We're talking touchdowns, big plays, and even bigger wins. New customers can bet just $5 on any NFL team to win and get $200 in free bets if they do. So if that's not enough, everyone can boost their winnings with DraftKings stepped up same game parlays. Right now, for any leg you add, you can boost your winnings up to 100% with payouts bigger than ever. Why bet on football anywhere else? To make things even sweeter, you can throw down on stepped up game day parlays once per per game day all season long. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code DNVR to get $200 in free bets instantly when you place a $5 bet for this week. That's code DNVR only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See the link in the description below for details. There we go. Now that we got that out of the way, I really want to show you guys my conversation with Susan Slusser. Kayla, are you ready to roll it? Ready. Oh, let's go. Susan, thank you so much for joining the pod.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Susie. It's really good to see you, and I always love coming to Denver. We get 4 days here.
Yes. How have you been liking your trips to Denver?
I love it. I've always loved coming to Denver anyway. I've got a bunch of friends here. We've been fairly lucky with the weather here this year. And people complain the games are long and all that kind of stuff, but honestly, it doesn't feel like it's been that bad this year. It's been pretty interesting games, always lots to talk about. The first game of this series is kind of a case in point. Tons of stuff to talk about, and that's what we want, is interesting stuff for you to talk about, interesting stuff to write about, so we love it.
It's truly never a dull moment at Coors Field.
It is not. Yeah, I'll take it.
There's always something weird going on. Yeah, last night especially.
So true.
So you've been at this for such a long time, and you were with the A, you're covering the A's for such a long time. Made the switch a couple of years ago. How has that transition been? Because you're still in the same area.
Yep.
Totally different vibe.
Yeah. Same paper, obviously, and our longtime Giants reporter, Henry Schulman, retired going into last season. So it was a strange time to take over a beat. Obviously, I know a lot of people because I've been covering baseball for a long time, and including Farhan Zaidi, and I knew Gabe Kapler and, a few players here and there. But I was taking over while it was still the Zoom era. And as you can imagine, that's not necessarily ideal. There were players that I had not spoken to in person until sort of halfway through the season because, they allowed field access, but even post-game, it was still Zoom all year long. So it was really strange. Wilmer Flores told me the other day that it was the first time he'd actually seen my actual real face because we have to wear masks in the clubhouse still. So it's been a little weird, Spring training was all Zoom access last year, and that's when you usually get to really know people. So not necessarily ideal, but I have to say, having covered the A's for 23 years, and I loved it, a lot of fondness for all the fans and readers and everyone with the organization. It's, they've always been kind of number two and scrappy and blue collar, and I love that. Also great stories over there. But I work for the San Francisco Chronicle, of course, and we're sort of the paper of record for the Giants. And it's really interesting the interest level, not just from, sort of people in the San Francisco area with the Giants as opposed to the A's, but even just things like my editors, which I have to say is kind of unusual. I used to kind of just be off on my own, doing my own thing, and nobody really paid that much attention to the paper. And now I'm getting a lot of input, which is sometimes good. It's maybe not always good, but no, it's fun. I feel like, we'll always devote whatever resources we have to the Giants, which that's a really good feeling because they're a really important beat for our paper and the rest of the San Francisco-based media. So, but I'll always have a soft spot for the A's for sure.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Even I have a soft spot for the A's, only because they used to play in Philly long before I was born.
See, there you go. Yeah, that's a good reason.
I have family that are still low-key A's fans.
They've
Very
always been,
low-key.
I've written 2 A's books, and they have always been kind of the number 2 team in the market, and scrappy, and tearing down and building back up, but smarter, doing it smarter than everyone else. Mm-hmm. So going back to the Phillies days, the Philly days too. So I love that, and that was really interesting. And one of the kind of carryovers coming to the Giants is that Farhan Zaidi, coming from the A's background, kind of does things a little bit the A's way. I kind of get, he's got more money now, and then he went from the A's to the Dodgers, who have all of the money. So, but it's a little bit of a synthesis of that. So it's, I'm finding that really extra fascinating.
So let's talk about this season. So this Giants season, very different from the 107 win season last year. What happened here?
I feel like we spent a lot of last year going I don't understand why they're winning so many games. To this year saying, I don't understand why they're not winning as many games. It's sort of like they either missed a step or maybe they were a little bit better than they, there's no should be or shouldn't be, I guess. But, certainly they really exceeded expectations last year. And they, like every decision was the right decision. Every move was the right move. They had all the luck. Everything went their way. It seemed like on a nightly basis, even like little things. They won late games late. They had tons of walk-offs. They'd call a guy up for a weekend and he'd go off and he'd get sent back down and we'd never see him again, but he would have like contributed. And this year it's been the opposite. Like every little thing is kind of not worked out quite right. Obviously the big thing you can point to is Buster Posey retired, and that is obviously significant. And Joey Bart was a really interesting story really all year, and probably will continue to be, because he gets thrown into this, I got to take over for Buster Posey, which is impossible. It's impossible. And then he doesn't hit for the first 2 months, and they send him down, and he had the best attitude. And, you know, really figured things out, came back earlier than expected because of an injury, and has been way better than I think people expected behind the plate and working with pitchers, and he's kind of figured things out a little bit offensively. So that's been kind of fun, but that's the obvious one. And then, they've got an older team. And last year, a lot of their older players had career years. This year, it hasn't been the case. Is that age? Is that, the league adjusting to maybe some of the things they were doing? I don't know. But they have spent a lot of time this year saying we need to get younger. We need to get more athletic. So it's going to be an interesting offseason for the Giants, too, because do they do that? Maybe part ways with some of their bigger name older guys? Or do they keep those guys and then kind of fill in around them still, which... the roster construction this year has been a little odd, and through nobody's fault. I think because of last year being so good, you don't tear down a good team, right?
Exactly.
They would have made a ton of different moves maybe if they'd been around 500 last year. So this year I think we see maybe some of those moves.
So the 107-win season was a bad thing.
It sounds weird. It was maybe bad for this year.
It was bad for this year.
It was, I think they would have approached things going into this season maybe a little bit differently. So
now, I like this story that you mentioned about Joey Bart getting sent down, having a great attitude, coming back stronger. What are some of the other good narratives or feel-good narratives that you've covered and seen this season?
I think with the Giants, we really have to look at a lot of their sort of younger guys. Camilo Doval is continuing to really turn into an elite closer, and he picked up a sinker in the middle of the season, which is almost impossible. And he's starting to show a little personality, which is fun. He doesn't speak English, doesn't do interviews in English. He does speak some English. But he's starting to feel a little more comfortable doing interviews with an interpreter, and he's starting to show some real personality. That's been fun. David Villar came up, and he's shown some power and can play multiple positions. So he's been fun. It's really been interesting, but the question marks with some of the older guys are really what is, I think, going to be fascinating. Evan Longoria's been among their best players when he's healthy, and they've got a team option on him for next year, but they want to go younger. Brandon Belt obviously had season-ending knee surgery, but he's really linked to the organization. He'd love to come back. Do they do something with him? So there are a lot of narratives, and some are the young guys, but some of the ones, like how the Giants go about their offseason, I think what they do with Longoria in that decision time where they have to pick up the option or not, which I think is maybe the first 10 days or so after the World Series, that might show you how they're going to go this offseason.
There's so much left unwritten.
Yeah.
So much.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's the beauty of baseball. There's always more to write.
That's the beauty. How did you even begin to cover baseball? When did you begin to love baseball? When did this all start for you?
I was 6 when my dad was in the Navy, and we moved back from Guam to the Bay Area, to Alameda, and it just happened when I was 6 was 1972. I mean, so now you know how old I am. But that was the start of the A's winning 3 World Series in a row, and they were 3 miles away.
That's extremely formative.
Yeah. So I just thought the A's won the World Series every year, and so I was a huge baseball fan. My dad sat me down and explained it, and the first time he explained it to me, he really kind of went in depth for explaining it to a 6-year-old. We talked about the importance of the count. Here's what the pitcher's trying to do with the hitter now, and here's what the hitter might be thinking that the pitcher's trying to do. And the way he explained it, I was immediately captivated. And he was a kind of a casual baseball fan. He wasn't like a hardcore, but whatever he did, I was like, man, this is the best. So yeah, baseball was kind of my thing from then on. I was pretty focused. But I wanted to be a baseball broadcaster forever, which is what I did through high school. My high school had a radio station. In college, I did football, basketball, and baseball. But I always worked at the paper. But as you can imagine, coming out of college in 1988, there weren't really women play-by-play announcer jobs going around in baseball. So I went to the Sacramento Bee and covered everything, and then covered the NBA, and then went from the NBA to baseball in Dallas, and finally back to the Bay Area. So, yeah, covering baseball just a little bit differently.
I love that.
Yeah.
Now I want to talk about, from what you've seen as a woman in sports early in your career to now, what have you noticed specifically that's changed in terms of, how it is out there as a woman who happens to be reporting?
Well, there are, as I just mentioned, there were not that many women, period, in the business, but especially in broadcasting. Mm-hmm. And now there are so many more women in the business, which is wonderful. Just look at here in Colorado, you guys have a wonderful media crew, but there are several women. That didn't used to be the case in a lot of places. Covering the A's, there were always tons of women. The Bay Area's always had an awful lot of women sports writers since sort of the 70s on. So that has been really good to see. There's still a few more issues than I'd like. I think there's more focus still on just basically on the gender than there even needs to be. I think we're at the point where if you hire the right people for the right jobs, I'd kind of like to the whole thing to kind of go at. I think players are really used to, in all sports, are by and large used to having women cover them at every level, and it's not really a big deal. Certainly nothing like when I was starting, and a lot of my friends, Lisa Olson's a good friend of mine. She had an incident with the Patriots that I think a lot of people will remember. One of my best friends, Jennifer Fry, had an incident with Jack Morris when she was an intern at the Detroit Free Press, and you just don't really hear that kind of stuff anymore. But, probably more inappropriate behavior in different ways and again, this is in all sports and just in life that needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
But just the fact that there are more women working in this business is wonderful to see. Football was much better. NBA, hockey, I think they all had lots of women covering them sooner than baseball did, but baseball's finally getting there. Finally, yay!
I like to see the improvement. I also just love so much how social media brings us all women together,
yes.
And we can kind of talk about the things that have happened and connect and support each other and build each other up. So
absolutely.
And then I get to harass people on Twitter like you.
Yes, exactly. You never harass me. It's always wonderful. Yeah, I mean, it is really good. That is one thing that's changed. I think the women in the business are much more supportive of each other than they used to be. Mm-hmm. There were so few jobs for women because it was kind of like tokenism almost. Mm-hmm. So it was more kind of cutthroat. I think women used to see other women as competition for every job, and it was, you did not see, there was some, obviously there was the support in various, from maybe different markets, but in market it could be pretty cutthroat, it seemed like, and that you just don't see that anymore, but thankfully.
Yes, I'm not cutthroat like that.
Yeah.
I couldn't handle it.
Yeah, no, it's one of those all boats rise kind of thing, right?
Yes, that's exactly how I like to see it.
Yeah, and that's how it really should have all been. But it didn't. I think people used to be very territorial. Like there's the one job for a woman, and that's mine. You stay away. So that's a good change.
Yes, I like that. That's a good improvement. All right, so one more question. I know you wrote the book 100 Things to Do and See.
I can never remember the full name of it either. The 100 Things A's book. That's what I was calling.
The A's book.
Yeah.
So that's, at this point, that's 7 years old?
Yeah, just about, yeah.
Okay. Anything that you would add to that or subtract from it?
Oh my gosh, they've had so many good seasons since then. I would love to have kind of addressed some of the more recent good teams that they had, and the Mats with the Chapman and Olsen there, and some of the really fun pitchers that they've had. And, but the through line with the A's has really been the front office, and those guys are all still there. So even despite the awful year they've had this year, I think they remain in good hands.
That's good.
Yeah.
What do you think is going to happen with Oakland?
They've kind of passed all the hurdles they need for an Oakland-based ballpark. I still couldn't give you more than a 50-50 guess that will ever happen. The funding right now is something that's a little bit up in the air. The fact that they keep presenting Vegas as a possible option is weird, and I don't know what that's about. I think MLB clearly should rather have two teams in the fifth biggest market in the country rather than the Giants having it alone, which I'm not sure the Dodgers or the Padres would love. And, then the A's in a much, much smaller market from every standpoint, not just population, but also media.
Yeah.
And also then they lose out on a $2 billion or whatever expansion fee. So clearly Oakland, what they should have done is let the A's move to San Jose when they wanted to move to San Jose. And I'm still not sure why they didn't just do that. They could have done it. Big city, lots of support, great weather, and they would have stayed in the Bay Area. A's fans were always like, "Oh, you don't like Oakland." I'm like, "No, I want them to stay in the Bay Area." And San Jose made a lot of sense. Still makes sense. Oakland. Let's hope. Fingers crossed for a nice waterfront ballpark in Oakland, which would be great. It would be absolutely great.
When we talked to Jessica Kleinschmidt, we asked her for her prediction.
Yeah.
She thinks they're going to stay.
I think so too. I mean, I think so too. It's the right thing, and it's the smart thing. Like all industries, they don't always do the smart thing.
Yeah. Well, we'll
or the
see.
right thing.
Susan, do you want to tell us when your mixtape is dropping?
Well, I've got something out coming soon. Yeah. No real projects I'm working on. Yeah, just getting through this season and taking a little break, and the winter meetings and seeing what all these teams are going to do in the off season.
Yes. I'm always curious to see what the Rockies are going to do.
Yeah.
That's always a surprise.
Being in this division is tough, and especially now, that we've all seen the Diamondbacks look like they're going to be a really good, fun young team for a while, and then the big dogs with the Dodgers and the Padres. It's not an easy division, so I think the Giants and the Diamondbacks have their work cut out for them.
For sure. Susan, thank you so much for joining.
My pleasure, Susie.
Just a Susan and Susie interview. That was so much fun. I loved talking to her. Good stuff. Love women supporting women in sports. That's like the takeaway. I love it. Let's talk about some news around baseball, because as we're closing in on the end of the regular season, we've got teams clinching left and right. So the Mets clinched earlier this week. Atlanta clinched Tuesday night. They're still neck and neck for winning the AL East. So we'll see what happens there. So far we've got the Dodgers. They clinched the NL West. They get that first round bye. The Astros have clinched the AL West. Mets and Braves will make it to playoffs for sure. Aaron Judge hit homer number 60 last night. Huge news. So he joins Roger Maris and Babe Ruth as the only Yankees to have 60 homer seasons, but he's also in the company of Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire, and Barry Bonds. And that's it, because 60 home runs is absolutely insane. But with that, Zach Campbell is trending on Twitter again because people are happy that he didn't catch that home run. We will continue to observe the Zach Campbell ban on Coors Field. You remember that, right? From a few weeks ago?
I do.
Upsetting stuff. Also with that, Albert Pujols is closing in on home run number 700. He's at 698 still, but the Cardinals are in San Diego. They'll be facing lefty Sean Manaea, so he might be making some progress on that tonight. But again, people on Twitter are looking out for Campbell to make sure he doesn't catch it. Kale, do you want to answer a couple true or false questions?
Sure, absolutely.
All right, so some of these are about the game that I know you guys did not watch a lot of last night.
Awesome.
Kale's like, I hate this. Okay, true or false? CJ Crone hit 2 home runs last night.
No, he hit 1.
There you go. You're paying attention.
This is false.
This is false. One of our coworkers caught a foul ball last night.
That was false because we were in the rooftop, so I don't think that was even possible.
It would have been a massive home run if that was the case.
True.
Yes. So it did not happen. True or false? Joey Gallo pitched a no-hitter in high school and then took Greg Maddox's daughter to prom all on the same day.
I hope that's true. So I'm going to say true.
It is true. It is true.
What a legend.
Well, that's an awesome story. That is very legendary. I only bring this up because last night they put that up on the fun facts at Dodger Stadium. So that was going around Twitter again.
Oh, love that.
Yes. I love that story. It's hilarious. All right. So we got an interview with Jimmy Herron. Should we run it now or should I do an ad read first?
Let's do an ad read.
Let's do an ad read. Listen, we got to shout out our sponsors because they keep the lights on and they make me happy. But you know what makes me happy and makes my coworkers happy? Game Time tickets. It's the hottest ticketing site that makes it easier than ever to score the best deals on tickets to sports, concerts, shows, whatever you want to do, all the activities. So if you've ever dreamed of sitting in a seat you never thought you could, like maybe a 50-yard line, maybe courtside, maybe behind home plate, maybe with like 50 of your closest, drunkest coworkers on the rooftop of Coors Field. Listen, it's all possible with the Game Time app. The biggest last-minute price drops can be found on the seats you thought you could never buy. If you want to attend a Rockies game, usually well attended, if not a sellout, especially this last homestand of the season. But you can save up to 60% when you wait closer to first pitch with Game Time. I use Game Time all the time. Great for those last minute seats. Listen, we've been saying you can get to the rest of this Giant series for just a couple of bucks. You can get fireworks tickets for $13. It's good stuff. You got to go to the fireworks game. I just cannot say that enough. But listen, bottom line, if you love DNVR, you're going to love Game Time. The best way to support us is by buying your tickets through the link in the description of this podcast. Join over 15 million people who have downloaded the Game Time app and score the best seats to all of your favorite events. And again, hit the link in our description to save. And listen, it's sexy pizza season. If you were at any of our Broncos tailgates last year, or in the past year rather, you know all about sexy pizza. What you may not know is that using code DNVRAVS will take 15% off from your order. Oh, that's an old code. But listen, if you don't know, you should know that Sexy Pizza has been in the Denver community for 13 years with locations in Capitol Hill, Old South Pearl, Jefferson Park, Park Hill, and Sexy Pizza is pretty much as local as it gets. They've got that hand-tossed deck oven pizza made with from scratch every morning dough. And what I love most about Sexy Pizza is that they donate to a range of different nonprofits right here in Colorado. So they're truly not just great pizza, they're great neighbors. But Sexy Pizza can also support your organizations or events. Just go to www.sexy.pizza and check out their About page for the donations link to see how Sexy Pizza can support your cause. And for your friends outside of Denver and in the southern part of the state, Sexy Pizza has a location in Trinidad. So that's worth checking out. That's a nice little drive down there. But yeah, sexy.pizza. Best URL in the pizza game for sure. I'm hungry now. All right. So we got a chance to talk to Jimmy Herron of the Albuquerque Isotopes. He's been having a fun season for sure. And part of that group of guys who've just been coming up through the Rockies organization together. And it seems like they're having a good time. We're going to talk to him though. Kayla, are we ready?
Yep.
Let's roll it. All right, joining the pod now is Jimmy Herron of the Albuquerque Isotopes. Jimmy, how are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I am good. I want to talk to you about, I guess for starters, how this group that you have been coming up with in the Rockies organization. I've just heard from so many of your teammates who have been with the Yard Goats and the Isotopes over the past season. I just hear that it's such a special group and that you guys just are having a blast together. What's it been like for you?
Yeah, it's been awesome. It's definitely one of the most fun years of baseball I've had. Starting the year in Hartford, we had a great group and we won a lot, so that was obviously a ton of fun. And then it's a lot of the same here in Albuquerque. Different kind of group, a little older, but it kind of also has its benefits. So it's been overall pretty fun.
Yeah. How's the adjustment been for you to Albuquerque?
It's been good. It's definitely an adjustment. A new level, a lot of guys with major league experience. So, but just kind of taking it day by day and just doing whatever I can.
Yeah. Now what's harder, adjusting to AA or AAA?
That's a good question. I think most people would probably say AA, but yeah, I don't know. I think it kind of depends on the guy. I think for me, AA was definitely an adjustment. I also had with the COVID year, and then I missed most of 2021. Mm-hmm. So I was kind of behind coming into this season. So it definitely took me a little bit to get my feet under me, but
yeah, AA is tough. But
yeah, there's a lot of talent. Yeah,
that park is fantastic too. That's one of my favorites because I used to live in Hartford for a very long time, so I love my Goats.
Oh wow. Yeah, the stadium there is amazing. Like being able to go there every day to get your work in before the game and play and the fans, and it was pretty awesome.
Are you kind of relieved that you missed the homestand that the Yard Goats had recently, where they had 4 Yankees doing a rehab assignment?
Yeah, I noticed that. That was funny. They had like half the Yankees team was playing for Somerset that week. I'm sure those are always fun games though.
Yeah.
Like earlier in the year,
did
we
you
saw.
catch any good rehab assignments while you were there?
Yeah, when we played Binghamton, we had Max Scherzer, so we got to face him. So that was fun. And they always bring a huge crowd. Mets fans being in that area. So that was a fun night to be able to go up against him.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's got to be fun. Yeah. All right. So I've been asking guys, or I'm going to start asking guys up here this question, but I want to ask some of the Topes too. So I'm going to start with you. Which one of your teammates do you think deserves more credit for what they've contributed this season? It's a thinker.
It's a good question.
It's a thinker.
I think in AAA, what LJ Hatch has done this year has been pretty amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Playing a couple times a week, and he's hitting 300 with like almost 10 homers. He can play anywhere in the field. He moves around. He always has good at bats. He's definitely a guy who jumps out at me. He's always, anytime he's in there, you can rely on him.
Yeah, that's a guy that I definitely want to get on the pod too, for sure. Okay, so I've been also, speaking of questions that I've been asking guys, we've been talking about this for like half of the season, the smoothie situation happening in Albuquerque. So everyone talks about cocoa smoothies, and low key, if you look at the timing, maybe guys are getting called up because of the smoothies. Who knows? I'm superstitious about it. But Michael Tolia, when we talked to him, said that you make the better smoothies. So what is going on down there?
Yeah, he mentioned that to me. Well, that started in Hartford. We just had a blender, so I would always end up making too much. Like I would just want to make myself a smoothie, but I would always have extra. So it kind of just started where I would give Toglia my like extra cup, and he was like, "Oh, this is good." So I would, like, most of the time when I would make one for him, and I guess he liked them. And then Coco would make a lot of smoothies too, but. See, I had the upper hand early because I got to make Toglia smoothies in Hartford, where Coco came up here pretty quick.
Oh, okay. So, like, he's already been used to your smoothies.
Yeah, I think I had a little bit of an advantage.
I think you might have.
Yeah. But then here in Albuquerque, we have the little, like, ninja bullet, so you can make, like, a smaller smoothie. So there was a couple times I made one. I was like, sorry, Mike, I only have, like, a little drop for you.
A little drop.
But I think he still enjoyed it.
I hope so. I'll ask him when I see him later.
Yeah.
All right. So you're from Harleysville, so not far from the Philly area. Is it still like Philly sports intense up there where you're from?
Yeah, pretty much everyone. Definitely with the Eagles. Like the Eagles are the team I follow the closest. So everyone always gets excited for football season.
Yes, it's like there's never an off season for Eagles football, truly.
Yeah.
Just talk about it year round.
Yeah.
What do you think? How do you think they're going to do?
Pretty good. I mean, I think they looked really good last week. They have really exciting players, which is fun. Win or lose, you get to watch Jalen Hurts, run around and make plays, and the wide receivers are good and the defense is solid. And I'm looking forward to the game tonight because DJ Peterson is a big Vikings fan.
Oh,
so we've been going back and forth a little bit this week. So I think around when we land in Houston, the game will be starting. So we'll probably watch it together.
Oh, hopefully that's really fun.
The Eagles can come out on top.
Do you guys have like a wager going or anything, or is it?
Yeah, some friendly stuff.
Some friendly stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the Eagles and Vikings fans, they have some fairly fresh beef. Like
playoffs the 1 year. Yep. So I made sure to remind them of that.
Oh, that's funny. I'll keep an eye out. Listen, Jimmy, thank you so much for joining the pod. We appreciate it. Best of luck with the rest of the season, and we'll talk to you soon.
You got it. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And thank you guys for joining or following our continuing coverage of Smoothie Kate down in Albuquerque. It's very important stuff. I get such a kick out of it, though. So actually, after I talked to Jimmy, I chatted with Michael Tolia, and I was like, hey, I talked to your favorite smoothie maker. And Tolia was like, oh, I haven't even had a smoothie since Albuquerque. And I was like, wait, what? I like just assumed this was your favorite food. But he was like, no, actually, like the smoothies were kind of a food of convenience down in the minors. But now that he's got Chef Tyler Hines' amazing food at the clubhouse, like he doesn't need a smoothie. So I was a little sad that Michael Tolia has left that part of his life behind him, but it was funny. It was a good laugh. Some other news and notes around baseball. I wanted to mention this before. Kale, did you see this story? The boy who was injured at the Little League World Series when he fell from his bunk bed had a pretty bad injury. He's released from the hospital.
That is super exciting. I didn't see that he was released, but I saw the story when it first came out, so that is great news.
Yeah, for sure. He's 12 years old. Kid from I was going to say Georgia. He's from St. George, Utah. But he had a fractured skull, so I'm glad he's doing better because that sounded so scary. Also, down in Puerto Rico, Hurricane Fiona has absolutely devastated the island. Javier Baez is doing what he can to help out those affected. But yeah, he's going to also represent Puerto Rico in the World Baseball Classic next year for the second time. So that's pretty cool. Let's look forward to the rest of this series. Rockies are playing today, 6:40, here on Wednesday. I almost called it Monday. It's way too early for us to be doing a podcast right now. Rockies are playing the Giants for another 2 tonight at 6:40, and then we've got a day game on the getaway day on Thursday, 1:10. Patrick and I will be back here in studio to do a post game. On the mound tonight, we've got Herman Marquez up against Logan Webb for the Giants. And then tomorrow, Thursday, Jose Urena will take the mound. Still TBD for the Giants. We'll see. But then the Padres are in town for 3 more before the Rockies leave Coors Field for the rest of the season. Kale, are you going to make it to any more games?
I'm going to try and make it to one more.
The fireworks game?
I would love to go to the fireworks game. Maybe that'll be my plan.
I love the fireworks game. The fireworks game is also the anniversary of the first time I came to Denver many years ago, and the time that I moved here a year ago. It's an emotional week, you guys. I'm emotional.
Congrats on a year in Denver once again.
Thank you. I think I've mentioned it a lot. Also, while the Jimmy Herron interview was running, I was like, Kale, could you imagine if we had a Susie show where I didn't mention Hartford?
The answer is no.
The answer is no. Unfortunately, I only talk about Hartford and the Rockies. But, it's been relevant. We have 2 of the guys. We have 2 new pitchers who were yard goats last week. So this is relevant. This is relevant information. I think we covered it all, though. So tomorrow, we've got a post-game show. Patrick will be on with Drew Goodman on Friday. So that's what the week looks like. Thank you guys for joining us. Kale, shout out your Twitter handle.
At Kale Sorbo with 2 L's.
With 2 L's. And you can follow all of our baseball tweets at DNVR_Rockies. You can find me at the Susie Hunter on all platforms. And Kale, you know what they say about closing out a show? He doesn't know. I don't either. I don't have a close, but we will talk to you guys tomorrow.